Hangouts. You can see if you didn't notice it, I have my new T-shirt, my Scale Up Milwaukee T-shirt. This is Jerry Jendusa with us, who's the CEO of a company called Emteq, which is located, I would say, in the Milwaukee region, just outside the boundaries in New Berlin, right? Did I get that right, Jerry?
Yes.
Okay, I'm still an outsider, everybody, as you know. We have these Hangouts as a way of reinforcing the dialogue that we're trying to create and strengthen about scaling up companies. It's not about small companies, it's about growing companies, because it's growth that's going to really invigorate the region economically, and we believe that Milwaukee has a great potential for that. At the outset, I'll mention that Scale Up Milwaukee is a project that is supported in this initial pilot phase by a number of partners, including, and I hope I get them all right, the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, WDC, WIDA, UW Milwaukee, the mayor's office, the governor, the county executive, Greater Milwaukee Committee, and last but not least, American Express Open. They're all the partners who are getting this launch, who believe that Milwaukee has the potential to be an entrepreneurship ecosystem that supports growth in all of its manifestations. We're talking about growth of companies. And so, I'm sorry I'm talking so fast. I'm just really excited that Emteq, Jerry, that you're joining us, because Emteq is a company that I think a lot of entrepreneurs would aspire to, but I don't know if too many people in the region know about Emteq. So give us the kind of elevator pitch. Okay. What is Emteq all about?
Okay. Today, and thank you very much for having me as your guest today. I'm delighted to be here. Macro level, Emteq is an aerospace company, primary emphasis on airplanes, and we get involved in all different types of electronics and mechanical upgrades for planes as well as for new production aircraft. Our business today has about 550 employees. We have a location in Switzerland. We have a location in Brazil. We have a location in Montreal. We have a location in Winnipeg, Canada. We have a location in Great Falls, Montana. We have a location in Miami, Florida, and the company originated in Muskego, Wisconsin, and subsequently has moved to New Berlin, Wisconsin, which is in the greater Milwaukee region. I'm born and bred in the Wisconsin area. I went to the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and so when we started our business, we're being an aviation company. Our desire in our business plan was to be located in Wichita, Kansas.
Why? Well, and first of all, okay, so that'll get to the question of why Milwaukee? Why an aerospace company? No one would have thought it, right?
So when you look at things like this, and you have the 6 P's of marketing when you start a business and you write a business plan, and one of them is proximity, proximity, proximity. So I wrote the business plan around Wichita, Kansas.
And we're talking mid-1990s, right?
1996. Because in Wichita there's Cessna, which makes airplanes. There's Beechcraft, which makes airplanes. There's Boeing, which naturally makes aircraft. And there's a variety of other periphery companies around, so it's a major aviation hub. And I went to my business partners, I went to the family and the friends and the spouses and said, Wichita it is, and everybody said no, so we're located in Milwaukee.
Right. But so this was patriotism?
Yeah. It's because of the great values in Milwaukee, I think.
So have you suffered from being in Milwaukee?
No.
Or the Milwaukee region?
No, I think the Milwaukee region is great for business, and I think it's going to get even better. And I love what your comments are about taking a business from 5 million to 50 million to 100 million, and how that equates to, as you're growing wealth, you're growing in equity in a business, the owners aren't taking that money out of the business, they're reinvesting the money in, they're adding new equipment, they're growing their plant, but most importantly, they're growing their employee base. So we started with 1 employee working out of a basement, and today we've got 550 employees, so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, so if you look back at I know this is going to be a tough question, but if you were having an imaginary meeting with yourself, now that can you tell us roughly what your revenues are? I'm guessing with 500 people or so, you're $50 million more or less of revenues, but that may
This
be off. I don't know.
this year we could be close to breaking 100 million.
Wow, that's very high productivity. So 200,000 per person is pretty high. So just imagine now that you're a $100 million company, and you meeting yourself when you're a $5 million company. What advice would you give to yourself on how to get from five to whatever, 50 or 100 or 500?
The biggest, there's a couple different things and I've thought about that a lot.
I can imagine.
Typically, entrepreneurs and business owners that start a company, if you really analyze it, I would say to myself back then, don't be the limiting factor to the growth of the organization. And what does that mean? So when you start a business, you typically are an autocrat. You have all of your money invested. You are fearful of giving up control. You're fearful of giving up decision making. And by doing that, you're probably doing the right thing when you're a startup, when you're $1 million in revenue, up to maybe 2.5 to 5 million. And you consistently have to transform yourself from making every decision to actually hiring people that are more capable, that are more talented, that are more gifted than yourself, giving up control, but really establishing a vision, sticking with the vision, and fiercely and relentlessly executing off of a business plan. So that brings up the most important point. What's a plan? Do you have a plan? Do you have an exit strategy when you start a business? Do you have a succession plan? And by doing all those things, it's a journey, and you just enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey.
How did you learn that, if I may ask? Was it a smooth road with no bumps and no potholes or you can see my question is a little bit facetious. But
I think you're setting me up to answer that question with hitting the ball off the tee. There are so many challenges that you have as a business owner. When I started this business, I was 27 years old. I didn't have an MBA. I had an undergraduate degree in finance from UWM. At first, you learn typically by the mistakes that you made, and I made so many mistakes along the way that I'd love to talk to people that are growing their business about. Here's some best practices, and here's a lot of lessons learned. Everything from shareholders agreement to capitalization issues to product development issues to leadership, the soft skills, the organizational development. So it's a journey of learning and a thirst for knowledge. And to go back to your question, if you have a thirst for knowledge and a passion for growth, you're going to really learn by listening to other people and by asking lots of questions. What I did is I talked to other business owners and I asked tons of questions.
how did you find them?
There's something that's called SCORE in Milwaukee. I don't know if it still exists. There's retired business executives, family and friends. My father owned and operated a business. So networking with other people. So what were their plans? What did they do? What could they have done differently, etc. And we've done a lot of good things and a lot of things that have gone well for us also.
And you said you used the word control, Jerry, and control means different things for different people, different aspects of the business. There's shareholder control, there's management control, there's psychological control. Which kinds of control were you referring to when you say you have to learn to, in a sense, manage that control? I wouldn't say give it up entirely, but manage it in a way that allows you to grow.
Yeah, that's a really good point. When you talk about control, some of the control that you actually have to implement gets more into those financial controls. So when you're up to $100 million in revenue and you make a mistake, it's a small percentage that turns into a very big dollar figure. So as you grow, you actually increase some of your controls. You increase your process controls. The biggest part of giving up control is more of a personal soul searching in relation to organizational dynamics and development of a human being. So that owner that feels, I used to feel at one time that I made every hiring decision and every firing decision because I didn't want to put that responsibility on anyone besides for myself. But if you analyze that type of behavior, that's very limiting to develop other managers and other senior leaders in a company. So oftentimes you'll have a small company where they have these wonderful titles and people will be called VPs and managers and senior managers and directors. But if that owner is the only one really calling the shots at the end of the day, it's not in the book Good to Great. There's level 5 leadership and there's selfless leadership. That's very selfish leadership.
Mm-hmm. So it's not blind trust, I'm sure, to give that decision-making authority down the line in order to grow the company. Well, how did you reassure yourself that the people who you were delegating some new decision-making authority to, that they really could live up to your expectations and maybe even exceed them?
Exceed them for sure. We worked in a variety of ways in using different types of deployment strategies, and we actually used some lean techniques. And lean typically is a manufacturing process, but we used it as a means. There's a term called Hoshin-Kanri, which is part of the lean fundamental, and we created what we call a one-page plan. And on this one-page plan, we have 5 major categories of measurement. We have one measurement that's for growth. We have one measurement that's for customer delight. We have one measurement that's for innovation because we're a product development company. We have one measurement for productivity, like you mentioned revenue per employee. It's a key part of that. And we have one measurement which we call GPTW, which stands for Great Place to Work.
Okay.
When you create a one-page plan, you have a vision, you have a mission, you have some major initiatives under those 5 categories, and then you have targets or measurements or key process indicators. And if you're sharing with your leaders the vision and the mission, and you're getting input from them, and you're creating that somewhat together, then you're dividing and multiplying your superstars. You're growing your business in a very decentralized manner, but you have a lot of controls in place because of your metrics or your targets or your goals. And every month we review those. So you set the goal, and the goal is either based off historical data or it's based off of something that's relevant. And if you're doing a great job with your customers, you're doing a great job with innovating, with productivity, and if you have very gainfully employed, happy and productive employees, you measure those 4 categories. Your growth, which is your financial measurement, becomes a lagging indicator of the other 4 categories.
Got it. Yeah, that's really fantastic. I was struck by what you said earlier about, if I understood you correctly, actually hiring people who, at least in some ways, are better than you.
Yes.
In some respect. Where do you find these people?
You find them from all over. There are a lot of talented people in this world. To tout the Milwaukee area a little bit, we found them from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. We found them from University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. We found them from Milwaukee School of Engineering. There's a variety of other universities that I'm leaving out when I say that. We will do a lot of on-campus interviewing. We will provide a lot of internship programs. We'll provide training and development within Emteq. We've created a Q University. If you have the aptitude and the passion to learn and you're willing to grow, Emteq is for you. You could have the best skills in the world, and if you're not willing to work as a team, you're not willing to work together to collaborate, where Emteq becomes bigger than you as an individual while allowing individualism within the organization, then Emteq's probably not for you.
There may be some future executives listening or watching in right now. You never know.
So hopefully they'll send me an email and we can hire them.
When you get approached a lot by the state or by the region or by the city as an example of successful entrepreneurship?
I've worked heavily with the MMAC, the chamber in Milwaukee. I'm on a small business executive board, the Cosby board there. So I've been able to share some information through those venues. In some ways, the level of collaboration can improve. I work with UWM. I'm on their entrepreneurial advisory board, and we'll be talking to lots of different people in that manner. But there always are ways for improvement, and that's why I love when you said, what can we do as a state when it comes to growth-orientated, privately held businesses that are a subchapter S or that are an LLC where there's a pass-through tax sensation. Not all businesses that are publicly traded large companies grow. We've added, we're 550 employees. In the last 2-3 years, we've probably added 250 jobs. Now, I also will say, though,
that's with...
go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I
was saying that's in a recessionary environment.
And that's in a recessionary environment. Now, some of our growth has been in other states. We've grown in Montana from 10 or 15 core people up to 110 people in 2 years, and the state incentives there have been fantastic with grant money that's available based on job creation and job training.
So that's been a positive. Now let's go just back to when you were starting and when you were starting to grow. You said you raised a fair amount of capital. At least you approached investors. Assuming that you were successful in raising some equity capital. Is that correct?
We were, and we had the great fortune of being profitable from the first full year of business and reinvesting the money back into the organization. Just to backtrack a little bit, we started this business with $120,000 of capital, a $250,000 loan that was backed by a small business authority, and an $80,000 line of credit. I probably didn't take a salary for about 1.5 years. I had a partner in the business that had another job, and we worked nights and weekends to actually build the product on our own. So by doing that, after the first full year of business, we got out of the SBA-backed loan because it was very cumbersome with the amount of paperwork. And we grew without having to bring in private equity or any type of venture capitalist, if you will. So we've been very, very fortunate to have high-margin product and to put the money back into the business to allow it to grow. Now, not every business owner is about growth, though, and that's why they could be growth and equity and taking money out and giving major distributions. We primarily take money out to pay taxes, and the rest goes back into the business.
Most investors, at least the ones who are experienced, and I've been a venture capitalist and angel investor, most of us want the money to go back into business. Yep. An early dividending out of retained earnings is a way to stunt the growth of a company. And if we want that potential, we want that money to go in because every dollar that goes in creates 4, 5, 10, or whatever the multiple is. And so I'm really glad to hear. By the way, most companies that grow rapidly in the United States anyway never take equity capital. It's the small minority of high growth companies that do take equity capital. It's not the only way to grow. The best way to grow, we like to say, is having a great product with high margins and good customers. That's the best source of financing is the market. Jerry, if you want to leave us with one last word of advice, again, looking back to your your younger self, so to speak, or the people who I'm sure there are hundreds of companies in the Milwaukee region and in Wisconsin who have $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 million in revenues. What's that one word of advice that you would leave them with?
I would go back to, and it'd be more of a phrase, but don't be the limiting factor to the growth of your organization. If you want your organization to grow, give it a vision, give it a mission, and allow it to grow and invigorate people to make it grow.
By the way, we're launching our Scalerator pilot, as I mentioned before. We're launching it the day after tomorrow, Thursday morning, with 12 companies with between $500,000 and almost $10 million in revenues each. And the 2-month goal is to have them see new visibility in their next 6 to 12-month growth. That's our objective, because you don't get growth in 2 months, but you can get visibility in 2 months. And the 4th session is going to be all about what you're talking about. I call it leadership, or building the organization beyond a one-person, one-man or one-woman show. And I think that's my takeaway from you, is that the sooner that you build in that mentality, that expectation, probably the better it goes. Jerry, thank you so much. I hope we can bring you into the Scalerator as a guest at some point.
I would love to it, and I love having those conversations because I just love the whole concept of growing things. So thank you so much.
Well, that's what Scale Up Milwaukee is. It's about scaling up. It's about growth, because our thesis is that you cannot have companies that grow without all the benefits. You get those benefits automatically when there are companies like Emteq that are growing from 1 to 5 and 5 to 10 and 10 to 50. They, of course, have to be hiring people. They have to be generating wealth. They have to be ultimately paying taxes, as you said. I know no one loves to pay taxes, but it's a good sign. It's a good sign.
If you're paying taxes, it means you're doing something right. So that's not a bad thing.
My accountant always congratulates me when I pay taxes. I want to hit him, but he congratulates me. Jerry, thank you so much. Again, I want to thank the partners. Remember, Scale Up Milwaukee goes beyond the municipal boundaries. It goes into the region to try to encourage exactly this kind of venture, this kind of company. So Jerry Jendusa and Emteq, we wish you all the best. We want you to be a guiding light to everybody. Again, thanks to the partners. We heard mentioning UW Milwaukee. We spent the whole day yesterday with Mike Lovell, by the way, and also with Sheldon Barr, who funded the business school there. So
I tell you, I graduated in 1989, and I probably wasn't that great of a student, but it's a great institution. Love it.
You're by definition a great student, because you know not from your grades, we know from your results. I want to thank all the partners again: American Express Open, UWM, GWC, WEDC, WEDA, the mayor's office, the state, the county executive, and I'm sure I've forgotten somebody, but thank you all, and we hope to see you all soon. Thanks, Jerry.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Just hang on one quick second.
Okay.